Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We'll surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. Special thanks to my producer who's making it happen today, Mr. Logan Landers. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And today, Football History Fact 101. We've had 6 unranked teams that started the preseason unranked to go and become national champions. So today, I'm going to give the flowers to all those teams today here on 100 Yards of the 1990 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. They scored 379 points that year. They allowed only 186. The stars of that team were Sean Jones, William Bell, Coleman Rudolph, the legendary himself, Miami Dolphins, Marco Coleman, the legend Willie Clay, and kudos and much love to Ken Swilling Jr. The 1990 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets started the season unranked and won the national championship. The 1984 BYU Cougars, they finished number 1 as the only undefeated team that year, and they defeated Michigan in the 1984 Holiday Bowl 24-17. The stars were Robbie Brasco, Trevor Maddich, Leon White, and Lee Johnson. The 84 BYU Cougars. The next team on the list, out of Miami, South Beach, Miami Vice, Sonny Crockett, Ricardo Tubbs. That show was going heavy then. The 83 Miami Hurricanes won the national championship starting the season unranked. And you know what's so unusual about that season, 83? They lost their first game of the year to the Florida Gators by 25 points. Can you believe that? And then they ended up in the season playing in the Orange Bowl in their home stadium, the Orange Bowl. And they beat the Nebraska and that Turner Gill team 31-30. The stars of that team, Bernie Kosar, Eddie Brown, Alonzo Highsmith, Jerome Brown, Kevin Fagan, and the great Melvin Bratton. The next team I'm going to talk about down south, about, I say 2 hours up the road from my house here in Douglasville, Georgia, about 2.5 hours. Coached right now by the young man out of the University of Alabama, Dabo Swinney. The 81 Clemson Tigers. What's remembrance about that team, Danny Ford, their head coach, became the youngest coach to win the national championship, and he beat the powerful Nebraska Cornhuskers in that bowl game 22-15. And that team was special. They started the season unranked. Can you believe that? And the stars on that team, and I can't get this out of my mind, was Homer Jordan, who grew up in Athens, Georgia. How did the University of Georgia did not recruit him to play quarterback? He goes over to Clemson, South Carolina, which is an hour and a half away from Athens, and he wins the national championship. Other stars on that team, Jeff Davis, Perry Tuggle, Kevin Mack, Cliff Austin, Jeff Bryan, Jeff Davis, Terry Kennard, and the refrigerator, William Perry was a true freshman on that team. Oh, and by the way, I know Clemson was for real that season because on September the 19th, 1981, they played 4th-ranked Georgia, a Georgia team that was coming off a national championship season previously, and they had the best player in college football, Herschel Walker. And you know what that defense did? They held Herschel Walker to 111 yards with 28 carries, but they forced Herschel Walker to have 3 fumbles in that game. And they forced 9 turnovers. But what I really loved about that game, and this goes to the University of Georgia fans, their secondary intercepted the legend out of Valdosta, Georgia, Buck Bellew 5 times that evening. 5 times. That's when I knew Clemson was for real. And I beat Georgia 13-3 that day. The Clemson Tigers 1981 squad. Then the next squad we're going to talk about to go from unranked to being a national champion, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. In 1960, the year I was born, I got a birthday coming up in July of this year, July 17th. I'll be 64 years old. The Gophers offensively that year scored 228 points and they only allowed 88 points. They went 8-2 that year and was voted national champions. What I liked about that squad, they had the first African All-American quarterback in the history of college football to win a national championship. His name was Sandy Stevens. Golden Gophers, Minneapolis, Minnesota in the house today. Other stars on their team, Tom Brown, Tom Hall, and Greg Lawson. Kudos to the 1960 Minnesota Gophers. And family, the final team that went from unranked to win the national championship. Boy, they got it going on in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and at LSU. The last few years, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Jaden Daniels, they going down in Baton Rouge. That gumbo is at another level. Hallelujah. That 58 LSU squad, what I remember about them is that famous nickname, the Chinese Bandits under Paul Diesel. Woo, that was a great team, boy. They finished the season undefeated and untied. Ended it with a Sugar Bowl win, 7-0 over the Clemson Tigers. The 1958 LSU Tigers, the stars of that team, Warren Rabb, Johnny Robinson, my man, Halloween night, 1959, Billy Cannon, J.W. Broadnax, and Mel Branch, the 1958 LSU Tigers. So I'm going to recap. The 6 teams that went unranked to become national champions here today on our Football History Fact 101. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 1990. The 84 BYU Cougars. The 1983 Miami Hurricanes. The 1981 Clemson Tigers. The 1960 Minnesota Golden Gophers. And finally, LSU. The 1958 LSU Tigers and the Chinese Bandits. Special thanks to my producer today, Mr. Logan Landis. Thank y'all for tuning in at 100 Yards of Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. Y'all be blessed.